greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's John Campia, and this is a companion video. What are companion videos? Well, I'm glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campia Show, and when I do open mics, I take live questions from the audience, but I don't always have time to get to all of the live questions that come in. But those live questions deserve to be answered on a video, so what I do is I gather up those unused questions and I address them here on companion videos. So, as you can see, I'm kind of dressed up here. I've got my Patriot gear on. Tomorrow, I mean, depending on when you're watching this, maybe it's today, but I'm recording this Saturday night. Tomorrow is the Super Bowl. Now, I am actually predicting the Rams are going to win. I just think they have too good of a defensive line. I don't think they're going to give Brady time to work his magic. So I think the Rams are going to win, but I'm going to be cheering like mad. I'm going to be screaming my lungs out for the Patriots, the greatest of all time quarterback. Maybe you can pull it out. Who knows? As long as it's a good, entertaining game. That's all that really matters. So today, let me double check. Yes, I remembered to hit the record button today. So we're already way ahead of the game. So let's get started with the first question to get caught up on. Give Luigi a ring writes, hey, JR and A, Chris Nolan films are among my favorites. I'd love to see his take on the MCU. Fantastic Four, maybe. Excited for his new Untitled. Yeah, don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. Well, I mean, especially not in the last couple of years. He's never said anything definitive the last couple of years, but he made it pretty clear before that he was kind of done with the superhero genre. Him and Christian Bale both actually have kind of intonated that they're both done. Christopher Nolan doesn't want to do superhero films anymore. So don't expect Christopher Nolan to walk into a movie, especially the MCU. Kevin Feige is not relinquishing control to any one filmmaker. The MCU and all the films within it have to follow Kevin Feige's, parameters. Even Ryan Coogler, he gives directors a lot of freedom, but what he does is he goes, okay, here are your parameters. As long as you stay within these parameters and you do this, and this, and you don't go outside of this, work your creativity within that playground, but stay within my playground. And that's why the MCU has been so consistent. That's why the MCU has been so successful. Christopher Nolan does not play like that. Christopher Nolan is, I have all the control, I write my own thing, and I direct my own thing, and I will do with it as I please. And hey, it's worked for him. That's great. But don't expect Kevin Feige to sacrifice a film that may hurt the overall plans of the MCU. It's just not going to happen. So I think there's two strikes against that, Luigi. I don't think Christopher Nolan wants to do a superhero movie. And I don't think he'd be willing to go in and follow somebody else's rules for his movie. And so, I mean, would it be great? It would be great, but like I said, don't hold our breath. All right, Mike Bowden writes, Fox is putting real marketing money behind Alita because it's trying to launch a new franchise. Potential long-term return on investment justifies the upside expense. Well, yes and no, because you can put all the money you want into, launching your film. If the audience doesn't like it, it doesn't matter how much money. What launches your franchise is that people like the first film. That's your best bet to launching your franchise. Because you can have a huge opening weekend, but if your film drops 70% from week 1 to week 2 and people don't like your film, it doesn't matter how much money you put into marketing. It doesn't matter. Marketing is about serving that film. Marketing isn't about serving film 2, 3, and 4 because only the quality of the movie can do that. So I don't know. I think Fox is putting real marketing money behind it because they want this film to succeed. And they believe in the film. They want people to come out and watch it. The reviews haven't been so great. Let me just double check here because last time I checked, Alita Battle Angel was sitting at 39%. Alita Battle Angel, Rotten Tomatoes. The last time I checked, so maybe it's gone up because there weren't a ton of reviews in yet. And it has gone up. It's now at 51%. So it was down. It was down to 39. So it's now at 51%. I'm guessing that's probably where it's going to hover. It's going to hover between the 48 and 53, I think, mark from here on out. So not horrible. I mean, it's about half the critics like it. Half the critics like it. There you go. But again, your marketing is about giving a kickstart to your individual film. it doesn't help franchise. It doesn't really help franchise on that level. So I don't think that. I think they just I think Fox believes in this film and they want to make sure people get out and give it a chance. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. Maybe I'm wrong. All right. Shannon Gates C writes, over under will get the Mandalorian tease at Celebration. Well, you can't just say over under. You then got to give me a line. Over under 40%, over under 10%. You got to give me a line if you want me to say over or under. My guess that we'll get a Mandalorian tease at Celebration is like 95%. I mean, I'm almost certain they're going to show you. Here's the thing. Lucasfilm in years past, and hopefully they'll change this, but doesn't drop a lot of news at Celebration. Lucasfilm traditionally has not dropped a lot of news at Celebration, but what they do is they show you stuff. You know, I have very little doubt they'll drop the first trailer, the first teaser for Star Wars Episode 9 will be at Celebration. I feel very, very confident they'll drop their first teaser for Mandalorian there too. Again, not 100%, and I don't have any insider information. I'm just speculating as a fan. But my guess, I'd be very, very surprised if they didn't drop a Mandalorian teaser there. Stubble McShave writes, could a Joker and Harley Quinn movie in the style of Natural Born Killers ever happen? Nope, don't, nah. They won't go there. Joel 19 writes, I mean, it'd be pretty interesting, but they're not going to go there. Joel 19 writes, I work at Regal, and they cut down our movie. I heard about this. Yeah, they cut down our movies to 2 per week. I work in the movie industry, so don't you think I need to know how good the movies are to be able to recommend them? What do you guys think? Well, first of all, I have been getting, and shame on me for not talking about this more. I don't know why I haven't talked about this more. But I have a connection with AMC Theaters, so I don't want it to appear like I'm taking sides. I like Regal Theaters very much. But I've been getting a lot of emails from those of you who work at Regal. And man, the people who work at Regal are not happy at all. So Cineworld bought Regal, and they've started instituting some changes, and they are pissing their employees off. I've heard from no less than 5, like if I count you, Joe, I've heard from no less than 5 people who've worked at Regal writing me saying, John, help us get the word out about this, because they apparently their hours are getting slashed, their benefits are being destroyed, like managers are getting demoted and moved to places they don't want to move to, and they're just really treating, from what I'm reading, they're treating their employees like absolute crap now. They're treating their employees like absolute crap. And again, I'm only getting one side of the story because I'm hearing from the angry employees. So I'm sure there's always another side to the story, which is, the employer's side of the story. But I'm not hearing their side of the story. So all I have to go on right now is the employee's side of the story. And the employee's side of the story that I'm hearing from Regal folks is not good. Again, keep in mind there are 2 sides of the story, and I haven't heard the other side. But right now, I'd be like telling people, don't go to Regal. Because the people who work there are really upset at Regal themselves. But let's get to the specifics here, Ojo. You're asking about the fact that they've now limited, one of the changes they've made is that they've limited it to 2 per week. I've had another email from somebody saying they weren't allowed to go to movies anymore, but let's go with yours, 2 per week. To be fair, Joel, I'll just be frank with you. I need the theater staff are important players in making sure I, as a moviegoer, have a good movie-going experience. And they're a key important part of that. Completely are. But I don't go to the people who give me such a good theater-going experience, the really helpful usher taking my ticket, the helpful people at the counter taking my food order, all that kind of stuff. These people who help me have a good time at the theaters, I don't necessarily go to them for movie recommendations. And maybe there are people who do. I never have. I don't know. I don't think any of my friends have. So among all the huge laundry list of complaints I've been hearing, legitimate complaints I've been hearing from employees at Regal Theaters, I'll say that while it sucks that they've reduced you to 2 movies per week, I I don't really see how it affects your ability to do your job well. It still sucks that they've done that. But quite frankly, old Joel, no, I don't need you to be able to give movie recommendations. By the time I've gotten to the movie theater, I have decided what I'm watching. And now with more and more people buying their tickets in advance and booking on their, through whether it's Fandango or at AMC using A-List or whatever movie club program that Regal launches, I think you guys have logic complaints, but I don't need these incredibly helpful people who help me have a good time at the theater. I don't need them to be able to recommend movies to me. So that's just kind of me. But man, it sounds like you guys are being given a raw deal, and I hope that this gets rectified really soon. Because like I said, old Joel, you're not the only one, man. I've been hearing from people working at Regal who are not happy. And I hope more light gets shed on this. And I hope you guys, they do right by you guys. I really do. Okay. Krypton Caged writes, love that my most favorite director, Zack Snyder, is back. I can finally watch a new movie by him. Nolan, Denis, and now Snyder in 2020. Gotta stay safe and alive until I watch them. Well, yeah, I mean, look, I'm also very happy. I've been saying for a long time, I think Zack Snyder needed to move on from DC, but because I think that would be best for him. And we've just all been waiting for him to do something new. Yeah, it's a straight to Netflix film. Most of those suck. But here's why it's really smart. And I've been saying this the last couple of days. Why I think this is a really smart move on Zack Snyder's part is in coming back in, it's a zombie movie. And he's had great success in the zombie genre. And he's very comfortable in the zombie genre. And I think that is a great way to get himself back into the flow of things. And yeah, maybe it's just a straight to Netflix film, but whatever. I think it's just a good thing to get him some momentum back. And again, I can't wait to see this zombie movie that he's doing and then see what he does after that. And again, I think this is just a really smart, shrewd move on his part, on his wife's part, to come back in this way. I think it's a good move. I really do. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do moving forward. Okay. Salah Panchad writes, you really opened my eyes towards torrenting and Cineplex, John. Thank you for that. Also, what's your favorite drink from Tim's? LOL, I can't go a day without it. I'll be honest with you. For those of you who know, like in Canada, Tim Hortons is an addictive chemical. It's crack. Tim Hortons coffee is crack. Everybody in Canada is like, oh, I can't start my day without my Timmies. That means their coffee. Their Tim Hortons coffee in the morning. But I'm not a coffee drinker. To be honest with you, I'm not a coffee drinker. So the only thing I get at Tim Hortons is their Boston cream donuts, which are the best Boston cream donuts on the planet. But it's their Boston cream donuts. And if I do get anything to drink, it's usually a carton of milk. I usually get a milk with my donuts because that's how I roll. But it's crazy too. Whenever I'm going to Canada, it's like my friends here in the United States are like, can you bring me back some Tims? Can you bring me back some Tims? I mean, that's usually the number one request I get from people. So yeah, I don't really have a favorite drink there, Saul, because yeah, I don't drink coffee. Oh well. Matthew Grant writes, I think the first thing Kevin Feige should do with the Fox properties is make the Books of Doom and finally do justice to the best villain ever. Don't hold your breath. What Kevin Feige should do is continue to do what he's done. Come up with the great stories and then fit your characters in where necessary and not build it around the character. I don't see him doing Books of Doom. And as of right now, I don't even know how much they're going to go into that at this point. But I do not foresee, because he's not going to do anything that doesn't fit in with his story and where he wants the MCU to go. And if Books of Doom doesn't fit his blueprint, then it goes out the window. That's why he's so smart, and that's why he's so successful. Now, it doesn't mean, that's the reason why Civil War doesn't look anything like the comic book Civil War. Because the comic book Civil War, as great as it is, it's not one comic book, but the overall story of Civil War, that didn't fit with Kevin Feige's plan for what he wanted for his MCU. So he massively changed it, still called it Civil War, but ultimately made a movie that fit within the MCU that he was creating. So I would warn you about this. If Kevin Feige at some point in the future does do like a Books of Doom, don't expect it to look anything like what you read in the comics. I'm just telling you that right now. Don't expect it to look anything like it looked in the comics. That's just a warning I'm giving you. But know that it'll be a movie that fits well and contributes to the overall MCU. Just don't expect it to look like the comics. I'm just telling you, man. I'm just telling you. All right. Krypton Cage writes, hi, I'm Ashley Whalen. I'm sitting together with my favorite people, John and Rob, and I love this job. Ashley's been a great addition to what we're doing. Again, I keep got to warn everybody, don't expect Ashley to be around a long time. Ashley is a working model, a working actress. She's great on the show. I love having her. She's a great production assistant on top of all that, but her priority is her acting and her modeling, and she gets a lot of auditions and a lot of work, and it's only going to be a matter of time before she's not going to be able to fit us into her schedule anymore. So it might be for a week, it might be for a month, it might be for a year. I'm just want to warn everybody that she's great, but she may not be around a long time and I hope she's not around a long time because I want her career to take off and do great things, but we'll enjoy her while we got her, man. And she's been great, great addition to the show so far. All right. Lorna Chowdhury writes, hi, Campia crew, Patreon supporter. Oh, thank you so much, Lorna, for being a Patreon supporter. I appreciate that. My question is, if Netflix or one other streaming service wins the top prize, will the studios or the Academy have a meltdown because of newness of it, or will they change their rules? Well, here's the thing, Lorna. I mean, a lot of the people in the studios are members of the Academy, right? So if Roma, as I suspect, if Roma wins Best Picture, which I think it will, I wouldn't vote for it, but I think it's going to win Best Picture. Guess what? There are going to be a lot of people in the Academy who are studio people voting for Roma, which is a Netflix film. Will they have a meltdown? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Will they change their rules? Nope. I don't think that'll happen either. I think, look, the expansion of the industry ultimately is good for everybody. The expansion of the industry is ultimately good for everybody. Now, the thing about Netflix is the people that it would upset more is not the studios, but it's the exhibitors. It's the Regals. It's the AMCs. It's the Landmarks. It's the Cineplex in Canada. It's Cineworld in Europe. Those are the people who will get more upset, and understandably so. And because, Netflix doesn't put their movies in theaters other than just enough to qualify for the Oscars. And yeah, and you know what? I don't know. I'm torn because on the one hand, as a film fan, I love more avenues for content to come out, like Netflix or Crackle or Amazon or Hulu or whatever. But at the same time, my favorite thing in the world is the movie-going experience. Watching a movie at home, I've got a great home theater setup system. I got a great home theater setup. But nothing compares to being in a movie theater and watching a movie there. Just nothing will ever come close. You'll never convince me otherwise. On the truly biggest screens, with the truly best sound, in an audience enjoying it in a crowd atmosphere, nothing will ever touch that with the home experience. Nothing will ever touch it. I love going to the movies. So I'm really torn as a fan. On the one hand, I don't want anything affecting the traditional going movie experience, because that's the best. At the same time, as a fan, I love new outlets for media and content to come out. So I'm a little bit fan, but ultimately, no, the studios aren't going to have that much of a meltdown. And because mostly Netflix is putting out movies that the studios didn't want to make, right? The studios didn't want to make Irishman. The studios didn't want to get behind Roma because nobody would have bought tickets to go see it. So, no, I don't think the studios, I think it's the exhibitors are going to have the bigger problem. Because they want people coming to their theaters to see the movies, understandably so. All right. The Ascension writes, Saw the next unreleased Shazam trailer. It's going to kill Captain Marvel at the box office, in my opinion. Here's my proof I've seen it. Here's the line, basically 15. You've written that in before, Ascension. I have my doubts that it will kill Captain Marvel at the box office. I really have my doubts about that. You know what? No, I can guarantee you it's not going to kill Captain Marvel at the box office. I even doubt it'll beat Captain Marvel at the box office, but it will not kill Captain Marvel at the box office because the Captain Marvel is an MCU film. So, and you're basing that off a trailer? You're basing that off a trailer? I don't know. But here's an interesting thing. I'm dying. By the way, I think I'm looking forward to seeing Shazam a little bit more than I am Captain Marvel. But the interesting thing about Captain Marvel and Shazam is that both of them are coming into their first films without being introduced in previous films. So movies like Spider-Man was introduced in a previous film. Wonder Woman was introduced in Batman vs. Superman. Aquaman was introduced in Justice League. So we've had Black Panther was introduced in Civil War. We've had a lot of standalone movies come with characters who got their introduction in a previous film. Both Captain Marvel, I mean, if you don't count the little pager thing, but that doesn't count. Captain Marvel and Shazam are both coming in totally clean, totally fresh. Not a lot of people knowing who they are, who or what they are. And it's going to be interesting to see how they do. All I know is I can't wait to see both of them, man. I cannot wait to see both of them. But I would hesitate getting too wound up about how big the box office will be from a trailer. I just be a little bit cautious about that. But hey, as long as they both do well, and I think they're both going to do well, then everybody should be happy. Okay, Chris Campbell writes, new patron. Well, thank you so much, Chris. What could kill the superhero genre like Batman and Robin did in 97? A couple of bad films in a row, or a Dark Horse, or Phoenix? Longtime listeners sending good vibes. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Chris, for being a Patreon supporter. I really appreciate that. Helps keep this channel on the air. It helps me pay people like Ashley, like Jonathan, like Ray, like Robert Meyer Burnett. If it wasn't for Patreon supporters being there, I wouldn't have money to pay these guys. So thank you so much for that. No, no one movie is going to sink the comic book genre. And remember, when Batman and Robin did it, it's not like it happened in a vacuum. Like it's not like superhero movies were on a hot streak before Batman and Robin. They were already still kind of laughed at and had some issues and problems and all that kind of stuff. There were a couple of good ones, but a couple of bad ones. And it's, again, Batman and Robin didn't happen in a vacuum. Today, it's a totally different thing. We got last year a comic book movie nominated for Best Screenplay. This year, we've got a comic book movie nominated for Best Picture. Comic book movies are now looked at very, very differently, and they're on a very big hot streak. One film is not going to derail that. Not Phoenix, not even if you re-released Batman and Robin. That's not going to be enough to derail it. You're going to need to talk about having a bad year at the box office right now. Not just at the box office, but a bad year of comic book movies. Like 4, 5, 6 stinkers in a row. That's what it's going to take right now to derail it. And because, look, Aquaman, success. Venom, success. Infinity War, success. Ant-Man and the Wasp, success. Spider-Man Homecoming, success. On and on and on. Success. Deadpool 2, success. It's just been success after success after success after success with a few bumps along the way, but for the most part, it's just success, success, success. It's not going to be derailed by one struggling film. So, yeah, like I said, I think it's probably going to take like a streak of 4, 5, or 6 in a row to really, really slow down the momentum of the comic book genre. But, yeah, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. Fingers crossed, of course. All right. Anthony Tarullo writes, what is your opinion, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? I like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Not my favorite Kevin Smith film by any stretch of the imagination. Not my second, probably not even my third, but I like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. A lot of people get surprised when I tell them what my favorite Kevin Smith film is. And it's Clerks, but not the first one. It's Clerks 2. I like that even more than Chasing Amy and Mallrats and you name it. But Clerks 2, I think, was the deepest of the films and most heart. And I love that film. It's not just a great comedy. I think it's a great movie that really speaks to a lot of people, including me. It spoke to me very deeply. Ass to mouth stuff notwithstanding the jokes in the movie. But I mean, it's about friendship. Where do we put in our priorities the friendships we have in our lives and as we move forward with our lives? I think it's a marvelous, marvelous movie. And, but yeah, I like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I certainly do. I'm looking forward to the next one too. Let's see. The Insight writes, why is there never any news about Quantum Leap reboot TV series? I think it'll make a great Netflix series or even a weekly show because nobody's ever asked for it, really. And I don't know that the concept... Look, Quantum Leap was definitely a show for its time. But I just don't know that a show like that today has that much appeal. So my best guess, Insight, and I'll be honest, I like Quantum Leap. I wasn't a big Quantum Leap fan. My best guess is there's just not a demand for it. I mean, that's my best thing. That's why there's no news about it. There's not a demand for it. I don't think they believe that could work today. Now, that may be right or that may be wrong, but I think that's probably the rationale behind it at this point. But, I mean, who knows? Look, everything comes around, right? So I wouldn't be surprised at all if someday we get one. So just be patient, man. Just be patient. All right. August Dustagger writes, Joker being rewritten while filming, thoughts? No, non-story. I talked about this on Open Mic the other day, and we'll probably talk about it again on the John Campea show this week, but it's a non-story. It's nothing. It's a lot of people taking something a second-tier actor of a movie said off the cuff in an interview, and everybody made it seem like that was everything. Look, so what happened is Zazie Beetz, who was Domino in Deadpool 2, and she's in Atlanta. I love her in Atlanta. And now she's in the new Joker movie. She was doing an interview, and she kind of mentioned, like, man, they were rewriting a lot of stuff. Like, they would rewrite it one day, and we'd shoot it that night, and blah, blah, blah. And then people are going like, oh my gosh, they didn't even know what they're doing. They just writing the story as they're going along. That's not what they meant. I mean, just look at what she said. That's not what they meant. All right. I can guarantee you nothing of their story changed. And by story, I mean the basic beats we get from A to B to C to D to E. What I'm sure has happened, and what is not unusual to happen, is that on set, quite often the writers will be there on set as well. The director will go, you know what? Okay, so in today's scene, we got to go from A to B. Or tomorrow's scene, we got to go from A to B. I think there's kind of a cooler way we can get from A to B. Not changing it to A to C or A to D or A to E. Still going from A to B. Just, hey, I think there's something we could do to make it a little more fresh to getting from A to B, blah, blah. But the story stays the same. They're going to go from to B to C to D to E. And on and on and on. They're not going to go from A to W to Q to M. And it's just, they tighten it up and freshen it. And look, the other reason they do that is because a lot of times the directors or the producer or whatever might have an idea. As you get into the flow of the movie and you get a better sense for your characters and the DNA of your movie as you're shooting it, the directors and whatever sometimes will have neat little ideas to try. So, the writers will be there. They've done that for a lot of the MCU films, by the way. They used to fly Joss Whedon in, even on films he wasn't directing. They used to fly Joss Whedon in on a couple of films to help write, just make little changes here and there, but the story stayed the same, right? But they would bring in Joss Whedon to do some freshening up of the dialogue and things like that. Honestly, this whole thing is being blown way out of proportion. It was a second-tier actor on a movie who said an off-the-cuff comment in an interview of something that's not even all that unusual in the movie business at all, and people are making a much bigger deal out of it than it needs to be. So that's the truth of it. But hey, everybody loves to panic. So, they're rewriting the whole... No, they're not. And this isn't all that unusual, so nothing to panic about, Angus. All right, next up. Josh Quick writes, I'm in for Disney is to release a trailer for Avengers Endgame for the Super Bowl. I think what you're trying to say, Josh, is that you would love for Disney to release an Avengers Endgame trailer in Super Bowl. I don't think they will. But, I mean, like I said, I'm recording this late Saturday night. By the time you're watching this, I may have already been proved wrong. I mean, and I have no insider information. I'm just speculating just like you are. I'm just speculating like you. I don't think they will. If they do, I don't think it'll be a part of the Super Bowl. I think it'll be like they'll just release it online during the Super Bowl or right after the Super Bowl or something. I don't think that this year they're going to do an Endgame thing during the Super Bowl. I just don't think they will. But if they do, I'm all for it. I'm with you, Josh. I'm totally all for it if they do it. GED writes, or Z Ying D writes, over under 50%, we see a Wonder Woman 1984 teaser during Super Bowl. 0, goose egg. The film's still over a year away. The movie doesn't come out till 2020. And let me get the exact date. Wonder Woman 1984 release date, as of right now, is not till June 2020. So it's a year and a half away. So chances, why would Warner Brothers be so idiotic and stupid to spend $3 million on a spot that everybody's going to forget about in a couple of months because the movie itself doesn't come out for a year and a half? Why would they be that idiotic? I just can't see them being that stupid. It would be a total waste of money. There's just no point in putting out marketing now. Everybody's going to forget about it in a couple of months. It's going to lose all of its buzz, all of its fizzle, and it's not going to affect the movie whatsoever. So, no. I'm going to go 0. I'm going to go 0 on that because I just cannot believe they'd be that stupid. And it would be monumentally stupid of them to do that. So I'm going to take a big 0 on that, way below 50. Now, next year's Super Bowl, well, that's a totally different question because at that point, you're only about 5 months away, right? 4 or 5 months away from the movie coming out. Then we can have a discussion about that. This Super Bowl? Nah, zilch. Zilcho. Michael Alton writes, anyone else watching the new show Project Blue Book? No, but I will confess it looks intriguing. It does look intriguing, but I haven't had a chance to check it out. If you guys have had a chance to watch Project Blue Book, do me a favor, jump in the comments and just let me know your thoughts about it. Do you like it? Is it worth checking out? Let me know. Because I finally got caught up on Ray Donovan season 6. I think it was season 6. Was this season 6 or was this season 5? For argument's sake, I'll say it was season 6. Oh my God, I'm so glad they got back on track because last season of Ray Donovan, not so good. This season, they got back to it being a Ray Donovan show, and I really like this season of Ray Donovan. Really like the season of Ray Donovan. So glad it came back. All right. Trey Gaming writes, I just realized 2018 was a bad year for Taron Egerton. Had Billionaires Boys Club and Robin Hood. Not good. Hopefully Rocket Man is good. I don't even remember Billionaires Boys Club. Hold on a second. Did that even come out in theaters? Billionaire Boys Club. I don't think that movie even came out in theaters. If it did, I have no recollection of that movie coming out in theaters. So I didn't see it at all. But just Robin Hood. Just Robin Hood by itself was enough to make 2018 a bad year for Taron. But I'll tell you what, man. This Rocket Man, the sounds of this Rocket Man are really great. I love the trailer for Rocket Man. I had a difficult time picturing him as Rocket Man. Do you remember who was supposed to play Elton John in Rocket Man before Taron Egerton took it over? Do you remember? It was Tom Hardy. Venom. Tom Hardy was supposed to play, for the longest time, he was supposed to play Elton John. And then that got upended. But I can't wait to see this movie. I'm very excited. I'm sure it'll turn Taron Egerton's stuff around. All right. Zelda Ninja writes, my favorite MCU movies are Infinity War and Civil War. My least favorite is Iron Man 2. All MCU movies are good in my opinion. I don't think there's many that aren't good. I don't think Iron Man 2 is good. And I think Thor Dark World is okay at best. There are some people who think Dark World is a total train wreck. I don't think Dark World is a train wreck. I think it is okay at best. I will say that I think Iron Man 2 is a poor movie. But oh my God, that's 2 out of 20 films. It's insane. The success streak they have had on the MCU is absolutely unparalleled right now. And now we're going into Endgame. Could be their second $2 billion film. Maybe. It's got a decent chance. Absolutely nutso, man. Absolutely nutso. Let's see. Zelda Ninja says, I sent that question on Sunday's open mic. I'm guessing you meant last Sunday. And I think I remember that question coming in, as a matter of fact. Radhames Riaz writes, Shazam will hit 1 billion because it's a family movie and more family will take their kids out to see it. There are lots of family movies that don't get anywhere near $1 billion. Now look, I didn't think Venom would hit 800 million, and it did. I didn't think Aquaman would hit 1 billion, and it did. But, again, Aquaman had a number of advantages going for it that Shazam doesn't. I don't know. If Shazam had been introduced in Justice League like Aquaman had, maybe. I don't know. I mean, right now it's hard to say. It's hard to say because we haven't had Shazam in a movie before. So right now the audience, it's impossible to gauge what the real audience's excitement is. Because what I find that happens right now, what we do as movie fans is we gauge the excitement of other people in our tiny little movie fan sphere when the average movie-going audience is 10 times, 100 times larger. And I'm not sensing that kind of excitement from the larger movie-going audience. But that doesn't mean it won't. Let's get a little bit closer and see how it goes. Is it impossible that Shazam hits 1 billion? Well, if Aquaman hits 1 billion, it ain't impossible. I still highly doubt it, but hey, who knows, man? Who knows? All I'm saying is there are lots of family-friendly films that don't come anywhere near 600 million or 700 million or 900 million, let alone 1 billion. So, and Aquaman is a much more well-known property than Shazam is. There was a time in the 50s that wasn't the case, but today, yeah. So I don't know. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Kenny Kearns writes, any chance that the new Batman is a younger version of Ben's Batman, or is it a total retool? I believe it's a total reboot of the character. Now, again, no insider information on that. That's just me speculating as a fan. I think it's DC going like Fox has done all the time. Continuity schmontinuity. This is Batman, but wait a minute. Wasn't Batman 15 years older and Ben Affleck? Nope, forget it. That doesn't matter anymore. Continuity schmontinuity. This is who Batman is. Batman's a 31-year-old played by so-and-so. By the way, I think Batman's been cast already. I think Batman has already been cast, and they're just not telling us yet. Remember, Ben Affleck, they revealed well after the fact that Ben Affleck had actually been cast about 5 or 6 months before they made the announcement that he was cast. So I have very, very little doubt that Batman has already been cast, and we just don't know who it is yet. And it may be a while before we find out who it is. But yeah, I think he's been cast already. And I think it's going to be a retooling of that, just a continuity schmontinuity. It's not a reboot. It's not a younger version of it. Because I still think this Batman film is not going to happen 20 years in the past. I think it's going to happen today in the modern context. Again, I'm not claiming insider information on that. That's just speculation. Pure speculation as a fan, that's it. But who knows, man? Look, as long as Matt Reeves is directing it, I have a lot of confidence that it's whatever direction he goes, I have a lot of confidence it's going to be good. Because it's Matt Reeves. He's going to direct something good when he finally gets around to directing it. It'll be good. Okay. Ladislav Misanik writes, loved Ben's tweet, so classy, not pointing any specific actors, but they should take notes. Oh, Ladislav, I completely agree with you, brother. I completely agree. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, Ben Affleck put out a tweet. Once Deadline ran their story that Ben Affleck was no longer Batman, Ben Affleck put out a tweet retweeting Deadline's post and saying, I'm very excited to see where Matt Reeves takes Batman in the future, and just very supportive, blah, blah, blah. Now, for all I know, Ben Affleck hates Matt Reeves and he hates Warner Brothers, and I don't know, for whatever, but regardless, he put out his public statement, was a very supportive, classy statement. Unlike another person that I'm a big fan of, Leslie Jones, when Sony decided to take Ghostbusters in a new direction after the Ghostbusters they tried to do with her didn't work. And she threw the stupidest temper tantrum online. Total lack of any class. Just no class. Zero class whatsoever. Blasting Sony and blasting that they're doing this new direction and blasting that they're not giving her a sequel. And it was just totally, utterly tasteless and classless. And I get particularly disappointed when that comes from anybody, but particularly when it comes from somebody that I respect and I'm a fan of. I think Leslie Jones is, I know some of you don't like her, whatever, fine, you don't like her. I don't care. I do. But that was tasteless, it was stupid, and it was completely devoid of any class. What she should have done is gotten on Twitter and said, man, super honored that forever I get to have said I've played a part in the overall franchise of Ghostbusters, and I'm really excited to see what Jason Reitman is going to bring us in 2020 with Ghostbusters. That's what she should have said. Now, I'm not going to go into that whole thing again because I already ranted on that long enough, but you're right, Ladislav. There's a difference between a Ben Affleck and how a Ben Affleck at least handled this, and it should be a template, I think. You know, look, I've left a couple of places, but when I have left, when I put out my first public statement of when I leave, I'm just supportive, you know, and that's what Ben has done. That's what a lot of actors do moving forward, and that's what she should have done. So I'm in complete agreement with you, Ladislav. I'm in complete agreement. Kenny Kearns writes, the fact that we didn't get one true scene with Jared Leto's Joker and Ben's Batman is a crime against humanity. And go Patriots. Go Patriots indeed, ladies and gentlemen. The GOAT is about to go to work tomorrow, and win or lose, doesn't really matter. He's already established forever that he is the GOAT. Brady, he's been in 18 seasons. He's gone to 9 Super Bowls. Never be repeated. It will never be repeated. That is a feat that will never be repeated. You know, and everybody freaks out about, what's his name? Why am I freezing on one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, the Green Bay Packers? And I'm looking at his face. Why am I freezing on the Green Bay Packers? I'm looking at his face. Packers QB. Why am I totally freezing on him? It's Aaron Rodgers. How did I freeze on Aaron Rodgers? I got too much going through my head at once. Everybody freaks out about Aaron Rodgers. He's taken his team to 1 Super Bowl. One. How adorable. Call me when he's taken his team, and by the way, when he's taken his team, and then when they have a complete roster changeover and he takes his team to the Super Bowl again, and then have another complete roster changeover and take his team to the Super Bowl again, and when he's done that 9 times, come and talk to me. Until then, he is but a shadow of the GOAT, who is Tom Brady, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, it is. Look, I was really looking forward to see Leto and Ben Affleck as Joker and Batman together. And look, as far as I know, they're still making a Leto Joker movie, but they may not. So we may have seen our last of Ben Affleck and our last of Jared Leto's Joker. So I don't know. Let's see how things kind of turn out. Tom Brady, GOAT. Devontae Brown writes, people you know are trying to steal your spotlight. You told us first Ben Affleck was out and faced harassment. Devontae, you're trying to stir shit here, my friend. Yes. All right, I'll say this. There's somebody out there who, well after I told everybody about Ben Affleck, safely after I did it, long after I did it, said, yeah, I've heard Ben Affleck's done too. That's fine, whatever. It's fine. And then that person got on Twitter after the announcement and was like, man, you guys wouldn't believe the harassment I took when I told people that Ben Affleck was done. Who's laughing now? It's like, and I'm just reading that, and it's like, whatever. All I can say is, look, and I've said this before, look, kid, if you're going to ride my coattails, at least have the decency to wipe your feet first. That's all I'm saying. But whatever, and I was going to tweet something about it, and I just stopped myself because I tweeted out a response to that, and I just stopped myself and just went, who cares? Let it go. It is no way impacting my life, so why should I care? And I did at first. I mean, it bothered me. But then I really thought about it. It's like, why am I letting that bother me? Why would I let that bother me? And I had to question myself a little bit, because why does that bother me? Because it pissed me off at first, but I'm like, and I'm typing some stuff out, and I'm like, wait a minute, why? Why should I bother? What's the point? I just let it go. And really, ultimately, who cares? Who cares? I don't even think I should have been bothered. It probably shouldn't have bothered me at all. Because ultimately, who cares? And, who knows? Maybe the kid did take some abuse for parroting what I had already said. And maybe that's true. And if he got even 1/10 of the abuse that I got after telling everybody, no, look, guys, I'm telling you, I've been told by a studio person, Affleck is out. I'm telling you. The amount of abuse I took is some of the worst I ever took. And that's fine. And maybe he took a lot of it too. And, I can relate. Like, I don't normally like to say I told you so, except for when it comes on at something that I took a lot of abuse over. Because I know when I take a lot of abuse over something, and it turns out I was right all along, then I feel like, nah. I get to say I told you so on this because of all the shit I took. And maybe he felt the same way. So, at the end of the day, I thought, why should I respond to it? Because what's the point? But then, should I even feel bothered about it? Maybe I shouldn't even feel bothered about it. Because, maybe he took a lot of abuse too. And, whatever. I don't care. It's not my problem. It's not my issue. I don't want it to be my problem. And I don't want it to be my issue. So, whatever. Let it be what it is. All right. Anyway, ZOMG Ruler writes, I say there's a 1% chance Ben's still the modern Batman. Oh, sure. I'll go 1%. Yeah, why not? I'll take 1% on that. I mean, he's not, look, because I've told you guys before, and I've said this from day one, there was still one film on his deal left. So I have said forever, since the very first day I told you Ben was going to be out as Batman, I said, after Justice League, there's still one film on his contract. I believe there's a 50-50 chance that Warner Brothers pulls the trigger on that one last film. But even if they do pull the trigger on that one last film, that's it then. He's done. And by the way, I still think there's a chance he does one more. I still think there is a chance, not necessarily a good chance, not necessarily a high chance. I still believe there is a possibility Warner Brothers could exercise that one film remaining on his contract. And there are some people out there suggesting that that one film deal left on his contract has expired. And maybe that's the case. I mean, I don't know. But so I'll just base my stuff on as far as I know. As far as I know, there's still one film left on his deal. And if there is, then I still believe there is a chance, however small, that Warner Brothers could still execute that one film left on his deal. But then you'll never see him again as Batman after that. So if you say 1%, Ben or Zom, sure, I'll go with you on that, definitely. I don't think it's a 0% chance, but it's a 0% chance that he's still modern Batman ongoing. That's a 0%. That he may still pop up in one more as a modern Batman, yeah, there's a chance for that. There is a chance for that, I believe. All right, let's move on here. Richard Karate writes, what's Richard writing? He's writing, do you think it will be Rey that kills Kylo in episode 9 as she has been trying to turn him back to the light? I think it will be somebody unexpected like Poe, Finn, or Chewie. Love to hear your thoughts. Oh, I absolutely believe it's going to be Rey. I don't know that it's going to be Ray. I mean, that I simply don't know. I have no insider information on that. But I absolutely believe it's going to be Ray. It almost seems a little anticlimactic. It's like doing the original Star Wars trilogy. Then at the end, Wedge Antilles comes through the door and shoots Darth Vader as he was about to kill Luke. And it's Wedge Antilles that takes him down. Like that's what it kind of feels like it would be if either, Poe shot him down or Chewie got revenge on. By the way, I don't think Chewie would kill Han's kid. Even though he took a shot at him, I think Chewie, now that he's had time to think about it, I don't think he would kill Han's kid. Unless maybe Ben was about to kill Rey or something like that. I don't know. But no, man, my thought process as a fan, just speculation right now, is totally that it's got to be Rey. It's got to be Rey. So let's see what happens. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't even die. We don't know at this point. Let's go in and be surprised. All right. C Spice writes, on today's episode of Never Doubt John Y'all. Well, hey, look. We're talking about the Ben Affleck thing. I have the reality is though, I totally get why people didn't buy into it. And I don't mind people that want to take it with a grain of salt. I told everybody to take it with a grain of salt. So I don't mind people taking it with a grain of salt. It's just that, oh my God, though, when I started telling people that Ben, 2 years ago, when I told people that Ben was done as Batman, just flat out being called a liar. And people making YouTube videos and blog posts about blah, blah, blah. And I hate DC. And it's like, listen, you fake motherfuckers. Y'all were laughing with everybody else when they announced Ben Affleck as Batman. You all laughed. Not you who are watching this show, but the people who ran that shit. You all laughed at him. And I was the one guy who totally was behind his casting. I called it a brilliant move immediately while all of you guys were laughing with everybody else. Oh, they got Ben Affleck. Oh, and they said Christian Bale. All this stuff. And that's the part that pissed me off. When I had been more supportive of the DC universe than anybody. All these fake bandwagon fans pretending like they've been supportive when they were never supportive. And I was the guy who said, this can be great. I love Zack Snyder. Ben Affleck's a brilliant move, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And then I come out and let everybody know, guys, I've just talked to 3 people, all closely connected to the situation, including a Warner Brothers studio person, that Ben wants out. You're not going to see him as Batman again, unless he exercises unless Warner Brothers exercises the one film left on his deal. But honestly, that's it. He's done. And just being called a liar was one thing. It's when all these fucknut halfwits who go on is like, Campy is just a DC hater. It's like, child, you who laughed at Ben Affleck's casting when I was the only one supporting it and blah, blah, blah. Just let the big people talk. Just go away. But that's the part that pissed me off. But hey, whatever. When people don't like what they're hearing, they'll attack the messenger. And people had their little feelings hurt when they found out Ben wasn't going to be Batman. And in their denial, and again, it's fine if people want to take it with a grain of salt and have their doubts about it. That's cool. But it's these pathetic ass clowns who are like, I don't like that you said Ben Affleck's going to be Batman. I'm going to attack you. It's like, dude, I'm just the messenger. I just told you what I was told. And you want to call me a liar? Fine. You want to say I'm secretly some kind of DC hater, even though every piece of evidence points to the contrary? See, that's the thing that really bothered me. And I'm going off on this too much. And maybe I should stop. I'll just say this one last thing. What was really confusing to me, that when people want a scapegoat for their anger, and when people want to deny information so much they will just turn on anybody, it was this whole narrative that a small pocket of these losers made up, that I hated DC. Me, the guy who's the biggest champion for Ben Affleck as Batman anywhere. Me, the guy who gave even when people were mocking me for it, I don't care if you mock me for it. If I like a movie, I'm going to tell you I like a movie. And if I don't like a movie, I'm going to tell you I don't like the movie. I love Man of Steel. I am the world's biggest fan, other than maybe Zack Snyder and Mama Snyder. Other than maybe Zack Snyder, I am the world's biggest fan of Man of Steel. And I'm one of the few film critics in the world who gave every single DC movie a positive review. I didn't love them all, but I gave all of them a positive review. Even though, Suicide Squad was a hot mess, I had fun with Suicide Squad, and I gave it a positive review. I said, now it's a bit of a hot mess, and it's not going to be for everybody, but I like this film. I went to see Justice League 7 times in the theaters. I liked Batman vs. Superman. I'll acknowledge they had problems, but it just highlights that there are some people so desperate to denounce anybody who says something they don't like to hear that they even turned on me, who love the Ben Affleck casting, the biggest defender of the Ben Affleck involved in the DCU, and one of the only film critics to give positive review to every single DC, every bit of solid proof that I don't hate DC, and yet they'll take all that proof and put it aside, says, well, that doesn't fit the narrative I want. I want you to be a DC hater because then I can say that the stuff you're saying about Ben Affleck is totally not true. So I'm going to take all the evidence and going to throw it away just so I can say what I want to say. And I'll tell you what, I've never said this in a video before, but now that enough time has passed, I can say it. It was very hurtful, and there was a lot of disillusionment for me that the fandom could be that toxic and that stupid. Wait a minute, we're gonna go after the guy who is like one of the actual biggest champions for the DC stuff? He's actually one of the biggest champions for DC, and we're going to go turning on him because we didn't like the fact that he was a messenger with some information that he discovered. And it was hurtful. It was hurtful. And I know that was the point. They wanted to hurt me. But, I mean, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. And now it's been 2 years, and I can talk about it a little bit, but, yeah, and again, just as somebody who's like a really big fan of the online movie community and all that kind of stuff, to see it turn so toxic so fast was kind of nutty. Now, was I critical of Warner Brothers? Yes, but I'm totally critical of things that I like and respect when I think there's something to be critical of. I love the MCU, but I'll always be critical of how they do fake deaths. I love Marvel, but I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a bag of shit show. I love the Toronto Maple Leafs, but they suck. Not this year. This year they're actually really good. But, I mean, for my entire lifetime, they have sucked. And I will criticize the things I love if I think there's something to be critical of. And I will continue to do that. If I think there's something to be critical in a DC movie, I will be critical of it. If I think there's something to be critical of the way Warner Brothers handles something, I will be critical of it. If I think there's something critical that needs to be pointed out in the way Disney has done something, like the way they handled the James Gunn situation, I will be critical of it. Because that's my job. But anyway, yeah, I've gone on long enough about that. Sorry to go off on that, personal exploration of things there. I will continue. I'll keep going now. Sorry about going on that rant, guys. I apologize. But, I'm human and I have feelings and... yeah. Oh, and by the way, of all the thousands of messages and tweets about what an idiot I am and how I'm a liar and that Ben Affleck thing is totally something I made up because I hate DC and I'm getting paid by Disney and blah, 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 blah. When the official announcement came out and Ben acknowledged he's out, how many apologies do you think I got? Whatever. Okay. Raymond Verrata writes, is Ben the Batman who never was? No solo movie? I wouldn't say, look, he was Batman in 2 big movies, in Batman vs. Superman and in Justice League. And while it was not a solo movie, Batman vs. Superman was very much a Batman movie. The Ultimate Cut was more of a Superman movie, but the theatrical cut was kind of a Batman movie. So I wouldn't agree with that sentiment, Raver. I see where you're coming from, but I would say no. I mean, he was the big major lead character of Batman vs. Superman. He was one of the big major characters in a follow-up film, Justice League. His is the character that brought the Justice League together. So no, I wouldn't say his was the Batman that never was, even though he never had a solo movie. Dan Ketchum writes, rewatched Inherent the Wind. Tracy was the best. I don't remember Inherent. Wait a second. Which movie are we talking about? Oh, nope. I'm wrong. That's not what I'm thinking about. Let me see this. Inherit the Wind was... who was in that? Oh, that's like an older film. Oh, okay. You know what? That's a 1960 film. You know what? I don't think I've seen that movie. And I'm sure you're probably talking about Spencer Tracy. So yeah, I have not seen that one, but maybe I should. All right. That's why I wasn't sure which one that was. All right. Christian Lomas writes, I think I'm done with DC. Tried to be patient, but seems like they still don't have a clear direction. Best of luck to them, though. I want them to succeed. I'm going to disagree with you on that. Look, if you feel like you've given them enough of a chance and you want to be done with them, that's your prerogative. I think it's erroneous to say it doesn't look like they have a direction. I think more today than ever, it looks like they have a direction. It may not be the direction you want, but it looks like we are slowly starting to get a picture of what Walter Hamada's DC universe is going to look like. They're reducing the amount of interchangeability. They're cutting back on shared universe elements. It's still the same universe. They're just not going to exploit or present shared universe elements, even though they are in the same universe. You're not going to have a lot of crossover. You're not going to have a Justice League movie anytime soon. They have a very clear plan to get DC back on good footing. And they have gotten off to a great start with Aquaman. I think we're going to get another good, I don't know, maybe Shazam's going to be a bag of shit, but I think it's going to be quite good. And I think it looks really good right now. And then they're going to follow that up with Patty Jenkins directing another Wonder Woman movie. We could be setting into an era now where we have 3 box office hits, fan hits, and critic hits in a row. And that doesn't look like they have a clear direction. Clear direction doesn't mean shared cinematic universe. Clear direction means creating characters and movies that are great, that are financial successes with the audience, and successes with the critics. And so far, they're off to a good start. So I would say take a step back, Christian, for a beat. Just because they're not planning on going in Justice League, that doesn't mean they don't have a direction. Hell, I think Warner Brothers were totally directionless for a long time, even though they sort of had a plan, but they kept going all over the place. I think there's more evidence that they have a more clear, direct plan today than ever. And I think they're heading in the right direction. Again, we'll have to see how Shazam turns out, but I think they're going in a good direction here. All right. Razor Edge Frisbee writes, just reread Scott Snyder's Batman, Death in the Family, and man, that version of the Joker is so damn terrifying. Might be my all-time favorite Joker. And by the way, Razor's Edge, you're not the first person I've heard to say that. Honestly, I think it might be my favorite iteration of the Joker ever. And this is going to sound strange coming from me because you guys know I'm not big on the animated stuff. I'm not big on DC's animated stuff. I'm not big on Marvel's animated stuff. Although Sony just did a hell of a job with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But generally, I don't like the DC and Marvel stuff. There's exceptions. There are a few exceptions of some really good stuff. But for the most part, I don't. But remember that one, I can't remember how many years ago. It's been a bunch of years since Batman Under the Red Hood came out. The Joker iteration in that thing might be my all-time favorite iteration of the Joker. It's truly terrifying. He's a madman, but a genius. All that kind of stuff. What year did that come out? Hold on a second. Batman Under the Red Hood. That movie came out in 2010. Yep. Came out years ago. And by the way, a little bit of a Supernatural, because you guys know I love Supernatural connection to that show. Jensen Ackles was the voice of Jason Todd / Red Hood. And Joker was not voiced by Mark Hamill. It was voiced by John DiMaggio, who I think he did a few things as Joker. Oh, I didn't know. I didn't even realize this. Neil Patrick Harris was the voice of Dick Grayson and Nightwing in that. I did not realize that. I did not realize that. Wow. Okay, learn something new every day. Okay, anyway, that might actually be my all-time favorite iteration. Go check it out if you haven't had a chance yet. Okay, Josh DeRose writes, I have two of the worst guilty pleasure films, Gods of Egypt and Seventh Son. There, I said it out loud. I accept whatever punishment comes my way. You know what, though? Josh, that's what a guilty pleasure is supposed to be. Like, you can't go, you know what a real guilty pleasure of mine is? Godfather, real guilty pleasure. Shut up. Everybody loves Godfather. Those movies kind of represent what a guilty pleasure should be. I hate it when people say, you know what my guilty pleasure movie? And then they say a movie that most people like. It's like, come on. That's not what a guilty pleasure is. A guilty pleasure is a movie that most people don't like. But you do. And it's got a special place for you. Guilty, like for me, one of my guilty pleasures is Armageddon. Everybody always trash talks Armageddon. Fine. One of my guilty pleasures. Speaking of Ben Affleck, one of my guilty pleasure movies is absolutely Armageddon. Another big guilty pleasure, Vanilla Ice is Cool as Ice, man. Vanilla Ice is Cool as Ice is another guilty pleasure of mine, damn right. But don't you apologize for that, Josh. That's exactly what this should be. Now, are they truly awful movies? Yes, those are two truly awful movies. It's funny because with Gods of Egypt, speaking of Gerard Butler, I just saw a movie with him, at least as a voice. I just saw How to Train Your Dragon 3 today. Review is coming. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of a connection there for my day and what you were just saying. So don't apologize for that, man. Justin McFarland writes, your opinion on Amadeus. Oh, yeah, it's great. Didn't it win Best Picture? I believe Amadeus won Best Picture. Hold on a second. Amadeus, 1984. And it was nominated for a bunch of Oscars, by the way. Oh, my God. It won Best Picture. F. Murray Abraham won Best Actor in a Lead Role. I knew that. It won Best Director. I didn't realize that for Milos Forman. It won Best Screenplay, Best Art Direction, Best Costume, Best Sound, Best Makeup. And it was also nominated for Best Supporting Actor, Best Cinematography, and Best Editing. So, yeah, it was nominated for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was nominated for 11 Oscars, and it won like 8 of them, including Best Picture and Best Director and Best Actor. It's a great movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I really like Amadeus. Darth Wayne 97 writes, over under 50% that the Matt Reeves Batman movie isn't taking place in the DCEU. Well, see, here's the thing, though. When we say stuff like that, I believe we are in a period of transition of what the DCEU means. Because I believe Matt Reeves has already kind of gone on record to say it's in the same universe. Okay, so it's in the same universe, but I believe they're in a period of transition as to what does being in the same universe mean? What does it mean? Because for a lot of us, it means all the superheroes are just right next door to each other. And they'll stumble into each other's films and have big team-ups and blah, blah, blah. But what if Walter Hamada is changing the definition of what the DCEU even means to more of a situation like the MCU and the Netflix shows? Because technically speaking, the Netflix shows like Daredevil, Punisher, and all that kind of stuff, technically speaking, they're in the same universe as the MCU, but they never, ever crossed over. There was never any solid evidence, just by watching the shows, there was never any solid evidence that any of this stuff was happening in the same universe, even though theoretically it was. You know? Like, oh, but John, in the background of this scene, there was a newspaper clipping of the Hulk. Okay, yeah, there was that. But on a practical level, on any real tangible level, there was never any real tangible connection between anything in the MCU and what was going on in the Netflix series. There was vague references made, but nothing tangible ever really presented, right? They never looked up in the sky for a second and said, oh, there goes Iron Man flying by. Like, there was anything tangible and concrete. What if that's what they're doing with the DCEU? And I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying, what if, this whole notion of what does it even mean to be the DCEU could be something that they're changing. So I believe it's 100% that the Batman movie is taking place in that universe, because Matt Reeves has already kind of said it is, but they may be changing what that even means to being much more isolated, much like the Netflix series were isolated from the MCU. Could be that all the DC movies now could be, yes, theoretically in the same universe, but completely isolated from each other. And if you look at Matt Reeves' comments on that, it doesn't sound like very far off from that. So that could be something that that they're heading into doing. All right, let's move on. And we go on to the next question from Mr. Hero 17, who writes, so the DCEU has confirmed that multiple universes will be possible. I was thinking, how cool would it be to bring back the Michael Keaton universe for a Batman Beyond movie? Thoughts? I don't know why you guys keep asking me my thoughts on Batman Beyond, because I've been saying the same thoughts on Batman. I don't think Batman Beyond's any good. And I don't think the audience cares about a Batman that's not Bruce Wayne. And no, I don't think that's something they should do, and I don't think it's something they will do. However, I will say this. With the when somebody else succeeds at something, it opens more doors for you. Sony just had great success with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse with an animated Miles Morales, right? They were never going to do a live-action Miles Morales, but they could do an animated one. So they do an animated Miles Morales. And it was great. And that opens a lot of doors. So we've been hearing whispers lately about the possibility of maybe a Batman Beyond animated movie. And I'll tell you what, 2 months ago, I still would have said that's a dumb idea too. That won't work. But now that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has had such great success with a Miles Morales, a derivative character, it does kind of open the doors for that possibility. So, no, I don't think it would be cool, and I honestly don't think the audience would care much for a live-action Batman Beyond, but I do believe an animated one is now more possible because of the success of Spider-Man. And then if that animated thing happened and was tremendously successful, that may open another door for maybe something live-action down the road. As of right now, I just don't see that being a thing. Nobody cares about a Batman Beyond or anything like that yet. Who knows? Maybe an animated movie because of Spider-Man opens the door for that. It does really well. And then maybe it does open the door later on for a live action Batman Beyond. But as of right now, nah. Wahala Ali writes, John, I finally caved and got CBS streaming service for Star Trek Discovery Season 1. I was going in with low expectations. I did too, man. And came out loving it. Storytelling reminds me of Battlestar Galactica, yes, it does. Meets Star Trek The Next Generation. Thoughts? I'll tell you what, I've told this story before, but it's true. For a full year leading up to Star Trek Discovery, I trash-talked it. I thought it was a dumb idea. Even the CBS All Access streaming, putting it there was a stupid idea. Blah, 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 and all the behind-the-scenes drama, and I just thought it was a stupid idea. But I watched it, and that's why you take what your pre-existing expectations were, and it's fair to have pre-existing expectations, but then you got to go into it and put those expectations aside and just then judge the TV show or movie on its own merits. And I love Star Trek Discovery. I think it's great. And you're right. It really does have a feel of a Battlestar Galactica to it, meshed in with a Star Trek universe. I love it. I think it's wonderful. Now, I know not everybody does, and that's fine. I think it's great. And I really do like Waj, and I'm not quite sure I pronounced your name, my apologies, but I really do like the illustration of the Battlestar Galactica that merged in with Star Trek The Next Generation. I never thought of it in those terms, but now that you've said it, it just kind of clicks a light bulb on for me. I think that's exactly it. And yeah, I mean, look, there's no other reason I have CBS All Access right now. The only reason I have CBS All Access is for Star Trek Discovery. They've got more content coming that'll make it a better value. But for now, I'm enjoying it. Now, I've only watched episode 1 of season 2 so far. Apparently, Robert just tells me they've just done episode 3, so I'm 2 episodes behind. So I do got to get caught up on that. But I love the first episode of season 2. So let's see where they go with it. All right, let's move on here. The next one comes to us from Raymond Verada, who writes, if Ben is not Batman, I'm Batman. There you go. I love your enthusiasm, Raymond. Corey Timmons writes, I have a theory as to why DCU movies didn't work. Punctuation, my friends. Punctuation. Anyway, I have a theory as to why DC movies Didn't work. DC heroes have all different tones. Trying to make a universal tone doesn't work because all characters have a different tone. Batman is dark. Not everyone. Well, I mean, yes and no, Corey. None of that would matter if the individual films were well received. None of that would matter. And if you just look at the comic books, a lot of the MCU characters have different tones. But when they brought them into a shared cinematic universe, they still let them maintain their individuality, but molded them a little bit so they would at least all fit within the same framework. And I think you saw them doing that a little bit with Superman and Batman. Superman to me was still very distinctly Superman, but they did put a darker edge on him just so he'd fit a little bit better in the same type of framework with Batman. Whether that worked or not is up to the individual viewer. But just because they're that way in the comics doesn't mean you have to tailor them then for the movie universe. And again, look, if Man of Steel is a great movie, I think. I think it's one of the top 10 greatest comic book movies of all time. I think that movie is brilliant. But it was only Superman, and yet half the audience still didn't like it. I still, for the life of me, don't know why, but they didn't. And that's fair. More than half the audience probably did not like Man of Steel. Was that because of different tones? Nope. There was only one guy. Right? There was only Superman. That's it. It was Superman. He wasn't trying to mix in with 18 other different characters' tones. It was just Superman. And yet the audience didn't like it. And ultimately, that's why the DCEU has not ultimately succeeded right now, is because the audience has not embraced it. And again, I think you can only say it's because you're putting all these characters together with different tones. If it wasn't for the fact that they started it with one character's movie and that movie didn't win the audience over. Even though it should have, but it didn't. So yeah, I'm not sure I buy that theory. I'm not sure I buy that theory, Corey. But who knows? Maybe flesh it out a little bit more. Maybe it is. But for now, yeah, I just think that first movie kind of disproves that. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. I could totally be wrong on that. It's an interesting theory nonetheless. All right. Daniel Gallagher writes, will this be a younger version of Ben Affleck's Batman or an entirely new version of Batman that exists outside of the DCU? Great show as always, guys. Well, like I was saying a little bit earlier, Daniel, it's not an either or. It doesn't have to be, like, it doesn't have to be a younger version of Ben Affleck's character to still be in the DCEU. It just doesn't. Continuity, schmontinuity. We've seen Fox apply that to the X-Men universe with success. And there's nothing saying that they can't do the same thing to Batman here. I'm not saying they're going to take that approach. But there's nothing says that they can't do that. That they can't just say, hey, this is Batman now. But wait, Batman was older. Doesn't matter. This is Batman now. But it was Ben Affleck. Doesn't matter. This is Batman now. And it's still modern time, and it's still in the same DC universe, but we changed that thing. They can do that. Remember, I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but don't believe for 1 second that their hands are tied. Their hands are not tied. They can say this is a Batman movie that takes place 20 years ago or 15 years ago, and it's a younger version of the Ben Affleck Batman. They can do that. Or they can say this is a 30-year-old Batman today, but it's not in the same universe as the rest of the other movies. They can do that, but Matt Reeves has already kind of said it is in the same universe. But they can also just say, we've just changed the DCEU, continuity, schmontinuity. Just like in the X-Men universe, Tyler Mane's Sabretooth, who's just come wild, feral, whatever thing. Oh, wait, no. Liev Schreiber is Sabretooth, who's a totally different Sabretooth, who's actually Wolverine's brother. But wait a minute, that's not how it was. Shh. Just accept it. Just accept. And they could do that with Batman too. So I reject the notion, Daniel, that it has to be either it's a younger version of Ben Affleck or it's in a different universe. Nope. It can have nothing to do with Ben Affleck, and it's in this universe, and they just say continuity schmontinuity. And guess what? If the movie's good, it won't matter. Winning cures everything, folks. If the movie's good, nobody will care that it's not consistent in continuity with the stuff they did earlier. Nobody will care if the movie's good. And if the movie's bad, nobody will care if they did everything else right. If the movie's bad, it doesn't matter. If the movie's good, nobody will care that they broke continuity. Now again, I'm not saying which way they're going to go. I don't know. I'm just saying don't believe for a second that those are the only two options. There is a third option, which is continuity schmontinuity, and they very well may do that. So let's wait and see what happens, because I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine right now. Daniel follows it up with, does this mean Superman's recasting might not be far behind? Hope not, as I would love to see Henry Cavill continuing to portray Superman. I don't think it's an either or. I don't believe right now that we're going to see Henry Cavill as Superman again, but I don't think we're about to hear a recasting because Warner Brothers' official statement was they have no plans for another Superman movie right now. That's Warner Brothers' official position right now, is that they have no plans for another Superman movie right now. So I don't think we're going to see Henry Cavill as Superman again, although I hope we do because he is my all-time favorite Superman. And I think Henry Cavill's awesome. But I also don't think we're about to hear about recasting because they don't have any plans for Superman. So, yeah, it's another one of those things, Danny, where I think it's neither. I think it's neither, to be honest with you. But you and me both, man, hoping to see more of Henry Cavill. Let's see what happens. All right, Motion and Poetry Games writes, Han had it coming. Hashtag Kylo did nothing wrong. Oh, I see you're playing with the Han about which Han, not Han Sol, but rather Han Solo. I see what you did there, Motion and Poetry. Trojan of Narnia writes, Motion and Poetry Games, how dare you? I love when you see everybody start interacting with each other. Ladislav writes, Starbucks is not coffee. Okay, so clearly you wrote that in the day that, what had happened was on the show on Thursday, on the John Campus show on Thursday, Ashley stopped at Starbucks on the way to the studio to pick up coffee. And then some people reacted by writing, and Starbucks is not coffee. I have no opinion on the quality of Starbucks coffee because I don't drink coffee at all. So I don't know. I'll have to take your word for it, Ladislav. All right. See dat as Nguyen over there writes that Asin guy over there. I don't know what that means. Anyway, what if Hobbs kills Shaw at the end to avenge Han? Don't believe that for a second. Don't believe that for a second. Because this is all franchise. They're making this movie, hoping it'll be profitable so they can do a Hobbs and Shaw too. So no way is Hobbs killing Shaw at the end. No way. Because they will, if this is a big hit, they're going to want to do a sequel. So they will not, cut off their toe and have him kill him at the end. Now, I have no insider information. That's just me as a fan speculating. So take that. It's just my speculation, just like you. But I don't think there's much of a chance that happens. Nothing's impossible, but I don't think there's much of a chance that happens. Anthony J. Lee writes, imagine a world where Bryan Singer did X-Men 3 and J.J. Abrams did Superman Flyby. Would the comic book movie world be better? Also, R.I.P. Batflick. I don't know, because the comic book genre rebounded, and the X-Men series rebounded perfectly well after X-Men 3. It rebounded perfectly well. It was after X-Men 3 that we got X-Men First Class and X-Men Days of Future Past and Logan and Deadpool 2. So it's not like X-Men 3 derailed the X-Men. And, Superman, went by just fine. We got Man of Steel, which I think was brilliant. So, yeah, I don't think there would be much difference today. I really don't. I think when you look at that, I don't think there would be much difference today in general. Captain Mexico 21 writes, in 2027, Affleck will receive critical acclaim for a semi-autobiographical film, Buck Fat Man. There you go, man. There you go. I like that. That was funny, Captain Mexico. All right. Chavez Person writes, sorry, guys, throat's starting to get a bit sore. I've always liked the idea of a band doing or accompanying the score to a film, i.e. AC/DC and Maximum Overdrive. Another great example of that is Queen in the original Highlander. Personally, I like the idea of an apocalyptic movie with a score done by Megadeth. What do y'all think? Nah. I mean, look, I'm not saying that couldn't work, Chavez, but no. I mean, you don't start with that as a premise. You know, you can have a post-apocalyptic movie, but then you got to determine, does this movie, will this work better with all the, now that we know the DNA of the movie, we know the story of the narrative, we know what the characters are like, we know what the feel of the movie is, then you decide about what the music accompanying it is going to be like. So I wouldn't pull the trigger on that in advance. But I mean, for a music video, Megadeth in a post-apocalyptic world, sure. But it depends on the movie, so I wouldn't start with that as a premise. Semsex writes, all right, people, let's do it one last time. I love that recall thing they kept doing in Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. Okay, let's do it one more time. And it's somebody explaining how they became Spider-Man. Okay, let's do this one more time. And it's somebody explaining how they become Spider-Man. I like the way they did that. That was a nice little callback, a little device they kept going back to. Hobo General writes, I'm very excited for Happy Death Day to you. How are you feeling about it? And are you planning on attending the press screening? No, I'm not planning on attending the press screening, but I am looking forward to the movie. Very few movies I go to press screenings with anymore. Like I went this morning, I'm recording this on Saturday night. This morning I went to a press screening of Lego Movie 2. But there was a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I passionately love the original Lego, but more importantly, Anne really wanted to go see an early screening of that. So I went to go see press, but for them, I usually skip 90% of press screenings now. Just because I don't really see need to have to go to see it a week early. I can just go see. Why should I drive 45 minutes across town when I can walk up the street and go see it on opening night? You know, because I live right by the AMC Burbank 16. So, no, I will not go to a press screening of that, but I'm going to see it probably opening night. And I am excited about it. I think it looks really clever. The first one was such a pleasant surprise movie to me, Hobo General. I thought it was going to be awful. And I was super pleasantly surprised by it. I was really entertained by it. I went back to watch it again. I just got a big kick out of it. I'm hoping the sequel doesn't suck. So I'm hoping the second one lives up to the first one. Sean Zimmy writes, man, Nick Cage has had a darn good couple of years. Well, it depends on who you ask. Like, what has he done? I mean, okay, he had like 5 or 6 lines in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse as an animated character. Between Worlds wasn't really big. He had a bit voice role in Teen Titans Go to the Movies as Superman. Looking Glass, whatever. Mandy, a bunch of people like Mandy, but it was a very small film. Not a ton of people saw it. Although Mom and Dad was fun, but that was 2017. But Mom and Dad was fun. I like that. But the Humanity Bureau, Inconceivable, Vengeance, a Love Story, Arsenal, Army of One, like all of these, not so good. I would not say Nick Cage just had a darn good couple of years. He's had a couple of highlights, but yeah, I love Nick Cage, by the way. And I loved his Spider-Man Noir voice, but I wouldn't say he's had a couple of darn good years. I wouldn't say that. Because there's a lot of duds that he's done in there too. The Junmengo writes, are you guys going for Star Wars Celebration Chicago? And what are the odds any news at all about 9 only comes out at Star Wars Celebration Chicago? I'm not planning on going to it. The whole toxic fucking losers in the Star Wars fan community that just became super toxic over anybody that said they liked The Last Jedi. Because I like The Last Jedi. Sorry, fuck you if you don't like the fact that I like it. Go fuck yourself. I like Star Wars The Last Jedi. And if you don't like Star Wars The Last Jedi, that's perfectly fine. That's great. But yeah, seeing the amount of venomous, pathetic, just awful toxicity that came out against anybody that would dare say that they liked the movie. Because, I said I liked it, and instantly I got hit with all these things. You're paid off, you're this, you're that, you're blah, blah, blah. Or I just liked the movie, and you didn't. So shut your fucking stupid mouth. Anyway, it just completely turned me off. And I still love Star Wars, the movies, but I got really turned off the Star Wars fandom. I got really turned off the Star Wars fandom. Then seeing how many sexist, racist bullshit people there were, seeing the stuff that Rose got, attacked, Kelly Marie got, targeted at her, and the shit that John Boyega got, and the shit that everybody got for it. And it just turned me off. And so, no, and it's really unfortunate because Star Wars Celebration New Orleans, Star Wars Celebration Orlando was amazing. I had a wonderful time at Star Wars Celebration Orlando. I had a great time there. But honestly, that whole experience just turned me off. It turned me off and killed any desire I had to go to it. So as far as any news, again, like I was saying earlier, Star Wars Celebration isn't typically a place where news comes out. What they do is they show you stuff. So they showed us the first trailer for The Last Jedi at Star Wars Celebration. I fully expect they'll show the first trailer for Star Wars Episode 9 at Celebration in Chicago. I fully expect, as I said a little bit earlier, that we'll get our first trailer for The Mandalorian there as well. But I'm not expecting a lot of news because just traditionally they haven't put out a ton of news. There's some comes, but not a lot of big stuff. So I'm going to guess not much, even though we're going to probably get our first look at a lot of footage there. All right, let's see. Sam writes, hi, John, Rob, and Ashley. Hope you have a great day. Well, I bet we did have a great day that day, so thanks for writing that in, Sam. Appreciate that. Robert writes, I'm hearing it's a younger Batman. Does that mean new universe, prequel, retcon? Maybe they do prequels and have Affleck back for some future cameos. Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath for the Affleck as cameos thing. Again, it's possible in one film because of the contractual stuff, blah, 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 but don't expect that to be an ongoing thing. And that's been coming up a lot. Yes, it's definitely going to be a younger Batman, which means it could be prequel 10 years earlier, 15 years earlier, or it could be a retcon, which is continuity schmontinuity. And we've already talked about that a little bit. I'm leaning towards it's just going to be a retcon. It's going to be a continuity schmontinuity situation. Guys, we know Batman used to be this, but now in the DCEU, Batman is this. And it's just going to be a retcon. Now, I don't know that that's going to be the case, and I'm not saying I fully believe that, but I'm just leaning that way a little bit. So we'll find out soon enough. Let's see here. The Jumengo writes, I'm here to steer the conversation on the show back to Star Wars. Everything Star Wars, just doing God's work. Well, thank you, Jumengo. I still like talking Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars is still, my all-time favorite movies and all that kind of stuff. I still like talking Star Wars. So, hey, anytime you got a Star Wars question, man, feel free to bring it up, my dude. All right. Manny Garcia writes, new Batman, does that mean new Superman as well? No, not necessarily. As I said a little bit earlier, just because something happens with Ben Affleck does not mean, like, Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill are not joined at the hip, and they didn't sign their contracts together, and they each have unique deals from each other, and that doesn't mean they won't have the same fate, but it doesn't mean they necessarily will. So I would say, Manny, just because something happened with Batman does not mean that's what's going to happen with Superman. They may end up being the same thing, but there's nothing says that they need to be. So I don't think one necessarily equates with the other. SJ writes, can't wait to see Cold Pursuit. It has a 94 on Rotten Tomatoes. I was shocked, by the way. Let me bring it up now. Cold Pursuit, Rotten Tomatoes. Cold Pursuit's the new Liam Neeson film. And it looks terrible. But as of right now, so it's not 94 anymore, SJ. It's got a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I thought this movie looked terrible. And it kind of felt like the studio was hiding a little bit, but it's getting really good reviews. And it's not just got 90%. Like, critics I really like are liking it. David Ehrlich from IndieWire is liking it. John Defoe from The Hollywood Reporter is liking it. Courtney Howard from Variety is liking it. Fanboy Nation liked it. Movie Web liked it. I mean, and this is a lot of places that I really like. So I had no desire nor any plan on seeing it, but I may have to change my mind. I may have to go see it now. Dan the Man writes, John, that interview you had with the Weather Wizard actor should be our new Batman. Also, DJ Cooper might be in Shazam. Could he be our new Superman? No, they're not bringing... No, he's not our new Superman. As far as the Weather Wizard, I believe that's Liam... it's the dude who played Spartacus after Andy died. And I don't believe I ever interviewed him. Did I ever? I don't think I ever interviewed Liam. And should he be our new... I don't know that he's a strong enough actor to be Batman, to be honest with you. Look, I shouldn't hold too much against him. I've only really ever seen him in Spartacus, and I didn't think he was a great Spartacus. And maybe that's unfair because I was comparing him to Andy, and Andy was a great Spartacus. I didn't think Liam was. And am I getting his name right? Hold on a second. Spartacus. So Andy Whitfield played him first, and he played him brilliantly. But in later seasons, it was played by Liam McIntyre, who played Spartacus. Now, the only couple of things I really know that I've seen Liam in was playing Weather Wizard in Flash. And I didn't think he was particularly good playing Weather Wizard. And I don't think he was a particularly good Spartacus. So I don't think he's right now, I don't think he's a strong enough actor to play Batman. So I'll go no on that. And DJ Cooper, no, they're not. They haven't made plans and changed up who their Superman is. They've made that very clear. So that's not happening either. At least not right now. Ladislav writes, Suppets for Teen Titans Go to the movies audience. Sorry, Ladislav, I don't know what you're saying, my friend. Benjamin Ellman writes, thoughts on Star Trek Discovery? Well, I love Star Trek Discovery. I really enjoyed it. Robert doesn't. Robert is not a fan of Star Trek Discovery. So he and I butt heads all the time over because I think it's great. And he really doesn't like it. But so, yeah, there's that. The Jumengo writes, John, love the show since the beginning. Congrats on everything. Thank you so much. And a little Ashley appreciation thread. Ashley, you're awesome. And I love when you put in your 2 cents on the news. I will be sure to pass that along to Ashley. Again, I got to tell everybody, don't get too attached to her because I don't suspect she's going to be around very long because I think she's just going to get busier and busier with her real career. But right now she's been great to have around, and we'll just look forward to having her as long as she's here. All right. Ariel Hilario Jr. writes, greetings and salutations. Do you think the MCU release dates this year are too close together? Nope. I think it's fine. I really do. As long as they're not like 3 weeks apart. I think it's because they've each got a couple of months in between them, and I think that's perfectly fine. I really do. I think it's perfectly fine. Look, Ant-Man and the Wasp came out just after Endgame, really, just a couple of months after, and it's still made over $600 million. So, yeah, no, I'm perfectly fine with their release schedule right now, to be honest with you. Troy Taylor writes, thought on the Zac Efron Ted Bundy trailer / outcry. I think the outcry is absolutely stupid and ridiculous. I think that now people are just looking for something to complain about. Like, because when the movie's title is, I can't remember the name of the title, it's Deeply Evil, Incredibly Wicked and Vile. When that's the name of your movie, they're not trying to glorify the guy. And this is the same director who did the Ted Bundy tapes on Netflix. Clearly, this is a guy who's not into glorifying Ted Bundy. But it's a trailer that highlights the persona of Bundy because that's what got him by. It was necessary. I think the trailer's spectacular. I think it's great. And I think the outcry, quite frankly, is stupid and just people looking to complain about something. Because there is nothing about that trailer. If you understand what it is they're doing, there is nothing about that trailer that either tries to glorify or romanticize Ted Bundy or anything that he did. And if you start to doubt that for a second, just look at the title of the movie again. So I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Let's see. Warrington Trainspotter 2778 writes, went to watch The Mule the other day. What a delightful, entertaining film. I really enjoyed it. Do you think Eastwood could get an Oscar for it? Well, I mean, even you just wrote this in a couple of days ago. Eastwood did not get an Oscar nomination for it, and it did come out in 2018. So, no, Eastwood will not get an Oscar for it because we already know all the Oscar nominations come out, and he didn't get any Oscar nominations. So, I don't know that I would call The Mule delightful. It's a good movie. I don't know that delightful's the right word for it, though. Although I got a big kick out of it, and I liked it a lot. But no Oscar nominations for him on that. Benjamin Ellman writes, Jason Isaac for Norman Osborn in MCU. Again, you guys know what I'm going to say. I don't care. John, X-actor in X role. I don't care. As long as he's a good actor. And I like Jason Isaac. I think Jason Isaac is a great actor. I really liked him in Star Trek Discovery, as a matter of fact. So, yes, would I like him? If they announced him as being cast as Norman Osborn, would I like the casting? Sure. But there's 50 other names you can name that I would also like their casting as well, so I don't really care. Darth Sidious writes, sorry I'm late, had a bit of traffic. Oh, that's a movie quote. That's a recent movie, too. That's a movie I just saw. And I can't remember. I'm freezing on it. Okay. Nicholas Lim writes, will we get Star Wars 10 and when? I believe so. Yeah, we're going to get Star Wars Episode 10 at some point. When? I'm going to guess, well, Episode 9 comes out December of 2019. I'm going to say 2023. I'm going to say 2023. I think there's going to be a 4-year gap between episodic films. I think in between there, we'll get 1 or 2 anthology type of movies, but I think an Episode 10 will come probably 2023 is what I'm going to guess. But there will be anthology films in between. Jared McBride writes, the Super Bowl, where is it? The Super Bowl is going to come down to the wire. I don't know why a lot of people don't like Tom Brady. He looks like a nice guy. I always have a hard time sleeping the night before the Super Bowl. Dude, I can't believe the Super Bowl's tomorrow. And by the time you guys are watching it, it's probably already Sunday because I'm recording this late on Saturday evening. Brady always conducts himself with great class. He's a great representative for the league. And he's the greatest quarterback of all time. And just the numbers prove it. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. And I don't, it's not going to be a blowout, but I do believe the Rams win by 8, if not 9. So I don't know it's going to come right down to the wire. But you know what? I don't care. As long as it's a good game, I'm going to be happy, and I'm going to be cheering for my Patriots, whether they're winning, whether they're losing, whether they win or whether they lose. I'm going to be cheering for the Patriots. Even if I think the Rams will win, that's fine. I'm still going to cheer for my team because that's what real fans do. Anyway, SJ writes, just watched Iron Man 3, and it's very underrated. I didn't hate Iron Man 3. I liked Iron Man 3. It's certainly not as good as Iron Man 1, but look, opinions will vary. It's not as bad as Iron Man 2, not as good as Iron Man 1. It's a little bit in the middle there. And it certainly has some highlights to it. The movie absolutely has its highlights. And a few weaknesses along the way. So I don't know if I consider it underrated. I think it gets a little bit of a bad rap. But I don't know that I'd be willing to go so far as to say it's underrated. But hey, I also know a couple people that really like the movie, so maybe it is. Telia Boston writes, treat yourself 2019. One of the great sayings to come out of Parks and Rec. Treat yourself. I love that scene from Parks and Rec. I love that stuff. Guitar Dude 513 writes, Justice for Hand is getting a lot of traction online. You know what's funny? I was hanging out with Robert this morning, this Saturday morning. Me and Robert were hanging out a bit. And he was saying, have you seen that our hashtag Justice for Han and hashtag Han Had It Coming is getting a lot of traction? And I said, no, I didn't notice that, but I guess a couple of people are saying that it is. I guess it's starting to go around now. James L.H. writes, curious about AMC and Cineplex. I use Cineworld. That's the European one. I book online. If I take my brother and his family, for example, he gets a discount. I then get everyone's food and drink at a discount. Is it the same for you? Nope. That's not how it works here. If they could figure out a way to make that financially feasible, I'm sure they'll do it. But no, I just get my free ticket and I get, instead of getting discounts on my concessions, I earn points. And then like today, went to a movie today. I went to see How to Train Your Dragon 3. I saw Lego Movie earlier in the morning. Then I saw How to Train Your Dragon 3 this afternoon. And I went to buy my concessions, and I don't get a discount on my concessions, but because of all the money I'd spent, I'd gotten a $15 off. I had earned up to $15 in credit, so I applied that credit to my popcorn and soda, and there I got it for free, basically. So it works a little bit differently here, James. It works a little bit differently. Volushkin writes, hey, John, been super busy, but a few weeks ago went to my first AMC in Kansas City for the new Broly film. Loved it. We'll see Endgame in an AMC theater. And by the way, the AMC theaters in Kansas are some of the best because AMC theaters are headquartered in Kansas, in Leawood, Kansas. They're actually there in Kansas. So like their best theaters are there. So that is a great place to go and see a theater. To go see an AMC theater is there. That's a great place to go. Darren Chavez writes, the setup of Justice League and Batman vs. Superman was so unnecessary. It's a 3-hour commercial. That's one of the reasons I despise it. Oh, I disagree with you completely. Absolutely, completely. That movie is not a 3-hour commercial for Justice League at all. That movie is very distinctly, the main plot of that story is Bruce Wayne as Batman and the trepidation and paranoia, if you will, about this alien being Superman and believing that for the good of the world, he needs to take down Superman. That's what that movie's about. It is not a 3-hour commercial for Justice League. Are there elements of Batman versus Superman that are a commercial for Justice League? Absolutely there are. There are absolutely elements that do that. But I think it's a gross misrepresentation to say that the entirety of the movie is just one big commercial for... No, it's not. This movie has a very definitive plot. And that's the Batman-Superman conflict and why that conflict is there. And that is very much its own standalone movie. Do they do some things a little bit later on to introduce the notion of a Justice League and all that kind of stuff? Yes, they do. Absolutely. But again, Darren, I got to disagree with you, my brother, on this. I got to disagree. I think it is a real misrepresentation to say that the whole film is just one big advertisement for... No, it's not. It very much had its own distinct DNA and its own distinct storyline and its own distinct standalone story for that movie. There were a little bit of elements in there doing what you're saying for sure, but I think it's a misrepresentation to say that the whole thing was just that. I disagree with that completely. All right, Dion writes, where'd it go? Oh, yeah. At halftime tomorrow, are you watching halftime? Time Heat next. At halftime tomorrow, are you watching halftime time Heat next? I don't know what it is you're asking, Dion. I apologize, my friend. All right, Patrick Conway writes, Captain America is the most brutal fighter in the MCU. He's an awesome fighter. Dude, I was flying back from Canada last month because Ann and I came back from our annual trip to Canada over Christmas to visit my family. And I watched, because it was one of my films that I had the option of, I watched Captain America Winter Soldier again. And just that fight between Cap and what was George St. Pierre's name again? It's Sleeper. Baltrock? I'm forgetting the name. Hold on a second. Now I got to look it up. The name of the character is, where's George St. Pierre? He's not listed high. Where's George? There he is. Batroc the Leaper. That fight between Cap and Batroc was fan-frickin-tastic. That was a great fight. I loved it. And yes, Cap is a brutal fighter. When you watch all of his hand-to-hand stuff. I mean, he's going bare knuckles punching Iron Man in the face in Civil War, right? He's a brutal fighter. I love watching his fight. That's one of the many reasons why Captain America is my favorite character in the MCU. James L.H. writes, my small problem with Cineworld. Rival Odeon, part of AMC, recently installed big recliner seats and rebranding these cinemas Odeon Lux. I am jealous. Well, yeah, in North America, they call that AMC Prime. And they are... I mean, I'm telling you, my friend, though the AMC Prime theaters will spoil you. It's a fantastic viewing experience. The AMC Prime viewing experience is a fantastic viewing experience. And I can't speak for what you got over in the UK, the Odeon stuff, but if it's anything like AMC Prime, that's great. But just because they're doing that great, that doesn't take anything away from what Cineworld is doing. And I've never visited a Cineworld theater, so I've got no opinion here. But just because one place does something great, that doesn't make something bad about the other place, right? So I don't know. But yeah, if they are associated with AMC, and I don't know that they are, but if they are, and if these Odeon Lux theaters are anything like the North American's AMC Prime, then yeah, man, it's a great movie viewing experience. Gabriel Reed writes, if someone is listed in the credits, for example, as a producer, does that necessarily mean that they get paid regardless on how much they did or did not contribute to a project? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I mean, there are going to be some people like a Stan Lee who, while he was alive, probably got a certain percentage of every movie. Probably. I'm just guessing. But his long-term contract with Marvel, I wouldn't be surprised if it included that he gets like half of a point or a quarter of a point or an eighth of a point, whatever, on every single Marvel movie, and he gets a producer credit. Even if he didn't really do anything on the movie other than doing a cameo, that's probably the case. But I also know there are many examples of somebody who just, gets a producer credit, but they don't get paid for anything. They don't necessarily collect any money, but they get a producer credit. And some do nothing, but they do get a producer credit and they do get paid for putting their name on it. I mean, everything is unique and individual. There's no one hard, fast rule for that, Gabriel. Okay. Where am I at here? Hold on a second. Okay. Froygon Jin writes, just watch Scooby Natural. I love Scooby Natural, man. Awesome. After Crisis on Infinite Earth, CW should do an animated Wacky Races. I remember Wacky Races for the next superhero crossover. Well, obviously that you're being a little bit facetious, Froygon Jin, but let's just talk about Scooby Natural. Scooby Natural, for those of you who don't know what it is he's talking about, Scooby Natural was an episode of Supernatural. And all these weird supernatural type things happen to the guys in Supernatural. And this one episode, they get sucked into Scooby-Doo. They get sucked into an episode of Scooby-Doo and into Scooby-Doo's television world. They get sucked into a TV and they get themselves animated like Scooby-Doo and they go on a mystery adventure with the Scooby Gang. It's one of those rare times where people got hyped about an idea and then the actual thing itself lived up to the hype. Scooby Natural was great. And even if you don't watch Supernatural, you can go watch Scooby Natural and you'll be fine. Go and check it out. If you can find a way to watch it, get the CW app and you can just watch, Scooby Natural. Find it and watch it somehow because it's awesome. Let's see. Jaron Morris writes, I'm the one who gripped you tight and raised you from... speaking of, if I'm not mistaken, speaking of Supernatural, I believe that was spoken by Castiel in his first appearance in Supernatural. I'm the one who gripped you tight and raised you from perdition. I believe, I could be wrong, but I think that's Castiel from Supernatural. Mike Hill writes, I want a Hitchcock 2. First one is awesome. I have always been surprised that the first Hitchcock did not get a sequel. That's the Will Smith movie, and Charlize Theron. I think Jason Bateman's in that too. Really fun movie, and it made money. It made money. Like, let me just hold a second here. Let me pull this up. Hancock. Box office. Okay, Hancock. Get this, for a 2008 film, Hancock made $624 million. Now, that's not an earth-shaking blockbuster hit, but that's a big hit. That's a hit. And it was good. Now, the third act of Hancock, it kind of went off the cliff a little bit. The third act wasn't as good as the first two acts, granted, but overall, it's a pretty damn good movie. I thought Hancock was a pretty darn good movie with a really good little mythology that they put to it, and it was financially successful. I've never understood why, and superhero movies are a big thing. I've I'll be honest with you, Mike, I don't know why they never did another one. They totally should have done another one. I don't know why they didn't. They should have. All right. Kurt Shand writes, watched A Few Good Men for the first time yesterday. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. It's great. A Few Good Men is great. Great cast. One of Tom Cruise's absolute best movies. Sorry, guys, my voice is really starting to go. Anyway, one of Tom Cruise's truly great movies. I love it. And I'm a little bit envious that you got to watch it for the first time. That's great, Kurt. Alex Von Gollum writes, about Jennifer Garner putting ketchup on the eggs. I thought you would have said, I'm sorry, little one, and sacrificed her. Thanos did love Gamora. No, I think Thanos' love for carrying out his mission was greater than his love for Gamora. My disgust with ketchup on eggs is outweighed by my lifelong crush on Jennifer Garner. So there you go. Just calling it as it is, man. Just calling it as it is. Volushkin writes, haven't seen Spider-Verse, but the animation in Broly was top-notch amazing. Again, you're talking to the wrong guy. I think I don't like the animation style in anything Dragon Ball. I think it looks very cheap, but that's just me. I'm the wrong guy to ask. I'm the wrong guy to ask about anything involving Dragon Ball because I'm not a Dragon Ball fan. Santez Henderson writes, Frank Miller said an older Batman was always the version of Batman he always wanted to write. For many, Dark Knight Returns is the definitive Batman story. The funny thing is that the Dark Knight Returns is an Elseworld story. It's not even a canon story. It's an Elseworld story. But you're right. It is the definitive turning point of how everybody, the industry and comic book fans, saw Batman. It really became the epitome of what represented what Batman is since the 1980s. I believe it was the 80s when it came out. Anyway. And you're right. It is the definitive Batman for a lot of people, even though it's an Elseworld story, which is kind of the crazy thing about it. I can't think of another comic book character where the definitive vision of that character came from an Elseworld story. Red Sun is great, but it's not the definitive Superman. And there's several other examples of that, but yeah, Dark Knight, it changed the comic industry. It's funny, I've been talking recently about this book called Slugfest, the 50-Year Battle Between Marvel and DC. Fabulous book. Get it on Amazon if you can, or get the Audible edition and listen to it. But they talk about like the significance of that Dark Knight Returns. It really did change the industry, and it certainly changed how we saw Batman. And it's a definitive thing. So good observation, Santez. All right, where am I at here? SJ writes, are you going to see Isn't It Romantic with Rebel Wilson? I am going to see it. I'm not going to go to any press screenings for it or anything, but I am going to see it. I just find the concept very interesting. A movie that looks at and makes fun of the romantic comedy tropes by having somebody waking up inside of a romantic comedy. I love the concept. Now, you may or may not love Rebel Wilson, and that's fine, whatever, but she's just the performer. I still think the notion of the movie is really interesting. Now, I think it was just announced that they're releasing Isn't It Romantic overseas on Netflix and not in theaters. That's not a very good sign. So maybe it'll suck. I don't know. But I'm at least interested enough in the concept that I'd like to see what they do with it. I think it could be interesting. All right. And I believe the final question today that gets us all caught up comes to us from Zelda Ninja, who writes, watch The Truman Show recently, amazing. Oh, it truly is. If you haven't had a chance to watch The Truman Show, I'm freezing on Eternal Sunshine. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind to a lot of people is like the quintessential Jim Carrey movie. I actually kind of think it's The Truman Show. And that's not a popular opinion, but honestly, Truman Show is ridiculously good, and I completely agree with you, Zelda. All right, that will do it for this installment of the companion videos. We're now all caught up on all the questions you guys sent in this week. Thanks a lot for joining me, and a special thank you guys for even sending in those questions, because not only do they give us great stuff to talk about, they also support the channel. So thank you for participating. It's my love doing it. All right, guys, listen, enjoy the Super Bowl. Hopefully the Patriots win, although I'm pretty sure the Rams are going to win, but whatever. And don't forget, Monday, we will be back. The John Campea Show returns with me, Ashley, and Robert, Monday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 12 noon on the East Coast. Make sure you guys come back and join us then. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.